These are the Adidas F50 Plus, Adidas' new Halo speed boot model. Now, they aren't super different from the Elite model, but in this video, I'm going to tell you all about the tech specs, the features, how they fit and feel, and why I think these are actually really, really cool. Let's hop into it. Now, for the unboxing, we do have the standard F50 box. You actually get this same box with all of the different top-end F50 models with sort of a metallic black box. You've got the F50 logoing here. Unfortunately, you don't have the little plus symbol, but that's okay because you do have it on the size chart there. So here is the sizing. So I went with my usual 9 US. This is, of course, the F50 Plus FG, which is different from the Elite model, a 42 2/3, and I believe these are a 27 centimeters or 27.5 centimeters. I can't remember. It doesn't say on here, unfortunately, and a UK 8.5. So very standard box. We're going to get these opened up as well. Straight away, you do get the F50 Plus string bag, which is nice. So a little bit different. You do get that plus little distinction, I suppose. On the side, it's the white string bag with that same color of kind of orangish red, pinkish type lacing, and then the blue Adidas logo, the blue F50 Plus logo, and you do get one of the shoe horns as well, which is super nice for a laceless boot. Now, before I unbox these and show you what they look like, I do have a pair of the Chameleon ones, which you've now seen a playtest of, and probably and hopefully the review of these ones as well. We're going to do a lot of comparisons between these and the F50 Plus because there's a lot of similarities, and then there's pretty much one major difference that I think is the reason for this boot. Here we go. Oh my days, ladies and gentlemen. So as of the filming of this video, these boots are unreleased. So I am not sure when this video will come out, but I will do my best to get it to you as soon as humanly possible. Now, these look insane. They're not super different from a construction standpoint from other than the obvious feature in this sole plate area with this Light Strike Pro, which we'll talk about in a second. But the coloring, see, this is what I mean. In the original review of the Chameleon colorway, I was like, this color with the red, kind of orangish red with the blue, and then of course with the white base looks way better than the Chameleon. I stand by that. I think these look fantastic. So let's get this other one out of the box and we'll talk all about tech. And then of course, I know you guys are gonna wanna know what these are like to get on feet, which of course we'll do as well. So we'll throw this one down here for you. Here we go, the F50 Plus. We've got a little bit of a different logoing there as well. And you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this down so you guys can see that as well, just for a little juxtaposition. And so the very clear difference between this, which there are actually quite a few minor differences, but the big one here is the sole plate. So let's actually just evaluate this first. So this is actually different, quite different from the normal F50 Elite sole plate, not from the actual studs themselves. As you can see, the studs themselves are placed relatively in the same position all the way across, plus they have the same shape in each position as well. So you've got these like conical studs here and here, just like you do on the F50 Elite. You've got these little chevron studs here through the middle, and then these interesting sort of L-shaped chevron studs or half chevron studs in the forefoot and in the heel area as well. That being said, once you turn the boots this way, you can see how massive of a difference it is. This, as we've said in the both in the F50 Elite playtest as well as in the unboxing, this is a very flat sole plate. So this, obviously, as you can see, there's no real arch like previous generations of Speed Portal, Speed Flow even, and the Crazy Fast series. So a lot of those had that big arc because they had the Carbitex or they had some of that other material in it that sort of forced it into that shape. This one, this Sprint Frame 360 doesn't. What they've done with the new F50 Plus is they've gone with a new sole plate construction that they are calling Sprint Frame 360 Plus, and it is much more curved up. It's much more of sort of a sit up on your toes really aggressively, and it also has the Light Strike Pro insert, which comes on the lateral, or this is the medial side, the medial and the lateral side. From pressing on it, this is a foam, almost, I would guess this is a derivative of or just a boost material in each of kind of the main pressure points of your foot. So really, as you're taking that strike against the ground, you're gonna feel the Light Strike Pro giving you quite a bit of bounciness feeling. And honestly, from my perspective, this is a really nice response. It's sort of Adidas' response to the Air Zoom unit from the Vapor, which of course we'll see sort of carry over, my guess, into Vapor 16, which hasn't released yet. And then you're also gonna, this also is a sort of a response to the new Ultra Carbon, which of course takes all of the craziest technology you possibly could and puts it into their kind of halo model, if you will. They'll have the Ultra Carbon and then they'll have the regular Ultra. The cool thing, what they've done with this model is they've gone and put the Plus, and they've done some crazy stuff with the Plus model, and then they have the F50 Elite, which by itself is a great boot. I actually really like the laced model of the F50 Elite. The laceless one is good, but laceless boots tend not to be my favorite thing, or cup of tea, if you will. But now they have sort of this halo model that's even more expensive. This falls in like the $300 to $310 range, depending on where you are. And they've put the extra technology into the sole plate and all that stuff. So that is a super cool feature, I think. I'm so glad. I'm actually really happy Adidas did that, because I think from a marketing standpoint, from a boot nerd perspective, it's just really cool to see brands put some really intense and awesome technology into their Halo platform. And I'm glad that they went with this. Now, from the rest of the boot, obviously, as you can see, quite soft from the Fiber Touch upper. This is the same upper that you get with the F50 Elite. So you're not gonna find really any differences compared to the laceless model. Obviously, the laced F50 Elite has the internal support cage with that compression fit tunnel system. That is not the case. You just have the prime knit here through the lacing system area. You've got a little bit of a different texturing here in the heel compared to this model with the Elite, so it's a little bit different, but it's perforated. It's like a perforated textile based mesh material back here, so it really isn't going to make that much of a difference. If at all, you probably won't feel it. Same heel counter area as well, although you do have the Plus detailing back there as well, which is kind of a nice touch. And then the F50 Plus logoing here. You also do get the Sprint Web technology, which is their grip elements. As I mentioned in the playtest of the regular F50 Elite, the Sprint Web does provide a little bit of grippiness sensation to it, but it's not sticky. So it's going to give you a nice amount of texturing. So it's going to allow you to have optimal control in both wet and dry weather conditions, which is really nice, but it's not going to give you something like, you know, an old GX or a new GX even. It's much more like generative texture like the GT was. So it's, again, not going to be sticky, but it will be actually a little bit grippy on the ball to be able to maneuver and manipulate the ball in whatever way you want. Now, from a shape perspective, it is identical to the F50 Elite, so you're not going to find, I doubt I'm going to find any differences in the way that these fit and feel, particularly because this material of the upper is completely identical, and the shape of the sole plate, at least, even though it's a little bit of a different sort of curvature, if you will, the shape of the sole plate is exactly the same as well. So you are going to get probably quite a similar fit. We'll find out in just a minute. But from a looks perspective, red, white, and blue just looks absolutely fantastic in my opinion. This is a boot I'm very excited for, and I'm really pumped to see what this is going to feel like especially on pitch, because I am interested to know if you can really tell between the two boots. So whether you can tell between how flat this is, how arced this is, what sort of performance benefit this is going to have, and whether or not this is actually worth the upgrade over the normal Elite model. Now, my hope is that they put the laced version, they put the sole plate on the laced version, because that would be amazing. I don't think that's going to happen, because that would then create 4 or 5 top-end models, which I think is just not what they're going for. But that's including the women's version as well, which I will be reviewing soon. This is just one of those things that sort of sits, I think, at the top. It's like their, again, as I said, their Halo model, if you will. So very cool. Light Strike Pro, the Sprint Frame 360 Plus, Of course, you have the fiber touch upper with the sprint web texturing, and then some prime knit through here. And honestly, I am super pumped to get these on feet. So without further ado, guys, let's hop into the on feet portion of the video. We're gonna talk all about the differences between the two boots. I'll get both of them on feet so you can kind of see the differences in, sitting on my heel, how arced this is comparatively, and hopefully these will be a boot that I will be able to get into pretty easily and be able to go and test right away, because these are very, very cool. So good response, Adidas, so far, at least conceptually. Good job, Adidas, so far, for responding to the Air Zoom unit. Took you freaking long enough. And the Ultra Carbon. Hopefully, maybe, we'll answer the question. Actually, we will answer the question, but I'm hopeful that Adidas has responded well enough, because those other two models are quite impressive. Let's hop into it. All right, fam, out here in the backyard with the F50 Plus on the turf. Let's get these straight on feet. I am really excited to try these on. I also have the chameleon version of the same boot, pretty much, obviously with the addition of this Light Strike Pro and the Plus sole plate. So we'll get kind of both on feet, but just want to give you guys an idea of what they look like. I think these look absolutely sensational in the light. Wow. Okay. See how much, as a comparison, see how much this curves up compared to that model. So that model is fairly flat, like not much rock. And then you put this one in and it's like, look how much rock that is. That's nuts. Okay, I'm gonna use one of these bad boys just because. I am wearing a pair of WeFoot grip socks. So for those who don't know, this is my favorite pair of grip socks. They sponsor or work with the South Korean national team. Son from Tottenham wears them, and they are absolutely sensational. 20% discount code in the link down below. Here we go. I'm assuming these aren't going to fit any differently than the regular Elite model. Actually, we're just going to use my hands. There we go. Straight on. Yeah, nice. Okay, so very, very similar feeling to the Elite model, like almost identical, but I'm already noticing that little bit of toe lift. Let's see, that's okay. Yeah, see, already feeling that right there in that area where that Light Strike Pro, kind of those two units are. So let's get the other one on and we'll talk a little bit about the differences. My guess, honestly, is the major differences will really show themselves in the on-feet, this is the on-feet, in the play test, because that's really where we're gonna get a sense to test them out. From a sizing perspective, usual size 9 US fits perfectly right on the end of the toe. There's a little bit of bulging here on the outside, but that's to be expected from a laceless football boot. It was the same with these Elite model, but these are kind of no different. Okay, wow. There is a massive amount of rock forward. That's way, way, way different. And I can tell already those Light Strike units, which are here and here, really do add to the sensation of kind of being up on your toes, and you can feel how bouncy it is. They aren't, as I would say, they're not an Air Zoom unit, so they're not gonna feel overly like a bubble almost, if you will, but they definitely feel nice. They're definitely a lot more rolly, and as I've said in multiple videos in the past, I'm not usually a fan of a boot that is has such aggressive rock to them. We'll have to see in the play test if these end up feeling really good. I'll try and do some training sessions in them as well with my 1-0 team, just to see if they're, anything to write home about. But yeah, I mean, significantly changes the way that these feel on feet with that extra 360 plus sole plate and those Light Strike Pro units. This is what the boots look like fully on feet. I'll try to get this stuff out of the way a little bit. They feel really good still. I think this laceless model actually does a great job of wrapping your foot. I think overall, the way that the sprint web texturing lays kind of over top this fiber touch material is really, really nice. It does a good job of wrapping your foot. I do feel like there is an adequate amount of width for most foot shapes. I don't think you're gonna fit in these if you have excessively wide feet, but for most people, they actually should be pretty good. They fit my feet relatively well, and I actually have had very little break-in time with the chameleon, like purple and yellow ones that I have over here. And outside of taking them off like once or twice in the first couple minutes of the play test, throughout the first hour or two of the play test, after that, they fit pretty much perfectly straight out of the box. So for me, that's a really nice thing. When I first tried on this original Elite model, I sort of expected that they would feel definitely more stiff than they let on, because when you first try these on, the Fiber Touch is quite robust in the sense of how stiff it is straight out of the box. And I don't necessarily mean that in like, it's stiff like Predator Edge, which is like one of the worst football boots ever created. And lol, Texas Cleat Collector. So yeah, Predator Edge, it's not stiff like that stiff. It's just stiff from the sense that it's not stretchy. Like it's not really gonna adjust super well, but then you put it on and you start to move around in it and it actually starts to mold to your foot pretty well. Touch on the ball compared to the previous generation, the only thing that I'm really noticing is how much more aggressive that toe lift is. And so as I'm, kind of touching the ball with the laces, I can definitely feel how much more difficult it's going to be to point my toes straight down. And that's something that we'll kind of explore a little bit more in the play test. But as I'm coming up to a shot, I really like to point my toes and really curl like as aggressively as I can, so I can hit the ball with like this area of the foot. And obviously I need a flat striking surface. And so if this angle isn't straight flat and if it sort of comes up, then as I'm striking the ball this way, sometimes it affects the way that the ball spins off my foot. So that's one of those things we're going to have to explore in the playtest. I will definitely be doing a playtest of this one because I'm really excited to see kind of the way that the Lightstrike Pro helps in running, in acceleration, in the way that it feels underfoot and stuff. Because from like an on-ball perspective, the boots don't feel that much different. The Fiber Touch upper is really thin. It's really nice on feet, and I think they did a fantastic job with this upper. The laceless part of this boot, it's fine. I wish they would have done a laced model of the Plus. I just think that would have added to the lockdown. And yes, I know the laceless looks really clean and it looks super high tech, but I just do think that the highest end possible model that you build as a brand should include the best lockdown, the best technology, the best performance, the best, right? So that's what I'm looking for. But I would say from a price hike, it's like a $50 to $80 price hike over the laceless model, depending on where you are. Is it worth it? I don't think I can answer that question yet. But what I can say is I think these are definitely different enough underfoot to be considered in that question. Like obviously some differences are so small. It's like, you just kind of pick whatever you want. With this one, I would say that this Lightstrike Pro feels good enough that I'm like, okay, maybe it's worth that extra little bit, especially if you're somebody, and I might not fall into that category, just for you guys to know. I might actually prefer the regular Elite model. We'll have to see after some play, but I tend to prefer a flatter sole plate, whereas these are definitely more aggressive. So maybe on FG, these might be exceptional. We'll kind of see. But the idea is that we really get a sense of what these are like to play in. Obviously, from a color perspective, I mean, come on, they look ridiculously good. I think these look so good. The Lightstrike Pro does look a little awkward, I gotta admit, from the side profile. Like that side profile does look a little strange. But honestly, it's Adidas's way of breaking into that hyper top-end Halo model market, and they had that with the Crazy Fast Plus, and that was a boot that I think sort of was everything that the top tier spec'd boot should be, minus having a carbon fiber sole plate, which I think would have made that product way better. Even if it doesn't perform, again, for those of you who are like, hey, but the Aeropacity speed, or the aero plate or whatever, the aero plate underneath was just the same as the carbon. Yeah, but it doesn't look as cool, and it's not as high tech, and it's probably not as expensive. I know it's not as expensive to create. So like that's the point, right? You put carbon in there, you put the the tech in here, you put the air zoom unit in the Nike boots, and that's where it's like, that's where you want to create that halo model. So for me right now, the only two halo models on the market, as far as I'm concerned, are the Puma Ultra Carbon and the F50 Plus. The way that Nike jumps into that category for a halo model is doing what I've said, and that is the Vapor stays the Vapor as it is, because it's amazing as it is. Make the Superfly the halo model. Make the Superfly something a little different, a little bit more exciting and fun, not just a freaking Vapor with a collar, right? So for me, this is definitely worthy of a halo model. They feel different than those. The upper feels pretty much the same. The heel lockdown feels actually quite good. As for the F50 in general, I find both the laced and the laceless model, just from a heel comfort perspective, to be good. Obviously, the lockdown with the laced model is going to be a little bit better. Upper feels great. Fiber Touch, I think, is a really nice kind of movement forward from what they had with the Aeropacity Speed Skin upper on the Crazy Fast series. And honestly, this is going to be a really exciting boot to wear and to test out, because I'm super, super excited to see what Lightstrike Pro feels like when I really get into agility drills and, things where I'm much more on my toes, moving around, passing the ball. Because obviously, as you can see, the Lightstrike Pro is pretty aggressive right in the area here where I would be striking the ball. So sometimes if I'm gonna, clip like this, if I'm gonna bend the ball and try and spin it, right, like whoop, like that, or I'll back up like that, this is an area where you strike the ball. And so does this Lightstrike Pro material get in the way at all? That's a question we'll have to answer in the playtest. So that's going to wrap up today's video of the F50 Plus. I'm super stoked about these. I'm excited that Adidas did something different with their Halo model. I'm really pumped to see where they go with this. Hopefully they do a laced model as well, because I think that would just be the best of all the worlds, putting a great sole plate, or we'll see about the great sole plate, but so far it feels really nice. Really good sole plate, really good upper with laces, to create like the best package possible. So we'll see how we go, but that's gonna wrap up today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed that review of the F50 Plus. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, leave your questions down in the comment section down below. I'll try to get to everybody. As always, be awesome, take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.